Make my wife.
You are getting trouble for yourself.
I will stick to my wife. Shambho! Shambho! Don't push my son. Shambho!
Don't relax.
Shambho, record this.
Wait.
Shambho, record this.
No, my God.
I'm sure from the past few days, you have been seeing these visuals, right? Arnab Goswami's arrest by the Mumbai police has led to a deeply controversial and polarizing news. Well, Arnab and Mumbai police have been locking their horns for a long time now. But the way in which he was arrested has raised a few questions of the misuse of power by the police and has gotten people talking about the kind of open witch hunt the Mumbai police has been doing towards him. Some are celebrating his arrest, while others are saying that it is an attack on the freedom of press. A lot of people believe that the reason for this is because of the baseless allegations Arnab has accused the Mumbai police of doing.
मुंबई में आओगे तो देख लेंगे क्या देखोगे संजय राउत कौन हो तुम संजय राउत मुंबई तुम्हारी है संजय राउत परमवीर सिंह से सवाल उठाओगे तो छोड़ेंगे नहीं क्यों नहीं छोड़ोगे परमवीर सिंह से तो पूरा देश इस्तीफा मांग रहा है संजय राउत तुम क्यों तरफदारी कर रहे हो मुंबई पुलिस कमिश्नर की
And that is the reason why the Mumbai police has been settling scores with him. Arnab was arrested in connection to a 2018 case for the abetment of suicide of Anvay Nayak. Mr. Nayak, along with his mother, committed suicide and in his final letter mentioned the names of Arnab along with two others for not paying back the money they owed him. Well, Arnab's arrest generated such a shock that it woke up everyone from the cabinet ministers to even some of the liberals. Now, a section of the people are fighting in order to get him some justice, which was highly unexpected of them. But I'm sure you and I are aware that nothing is going to happen to him, and very soon he will be out and back to doing his so-called journalism.
भाग गया है देखो बबलू जैसे बबलू खेल रहा हो अक्कड़ बक्कड़ बम्बे भो 80-90 पूरे 100 में लगा धागा बबलू निकल कर भाग
But unfortunately, that is not the case with the scores of other journalists who have been either booked, arrested, or even shot dead. Why? For the sole reason that they exposed and questioned the system. Hello, my name is Amir, and today the Upfront would like to bring to your notice 7 instances, among many others of course, of real journalists who have met a fate far worse than what Arnab is currently going through. Case number 1. Dhaval Patel, the 31-year-old editor of Gujarat website called The Face of the Nation, was arrested on 11th May 2020. He was charged under the 150-year-old colonial-era law of sedition, which essentially amounts to waging war on the state. It also entails punishment to someone creating a false alarm or warning, which could lead to panic and chaos. In a nutshell, Mr. Patel wrote a story stating that the present Chief Minister of Gujarat, Vijay Rupani, should be replaced with Mansukh Mandavia, who is also a Gujarati, a union minister, and is a member of the Rajya Sabha. Mr. Patel wrote this story in the light of the poor handling of the rising COVID-19 cases in Gujarat. He was promptly picked up, arrested, and sent to police custody. After 13 days, an additional sessions judge granted him bail as the allegations of destabilizing the government were completely false and that no such serious offense had been committed by him. Dhaval Patel may be out of jail, but he has a long and a tiresome legal battle ahead of him. Case number 2. Pawan Kumar Jaiswal, another journalist from Uttar Pradesh, was arrested for filming the midday meals in a government school in Mirzapur district. The food which was being served to the children consisted of only salt and roti as their midday meals. Wow! Sounds delicious, doesn't it? He was booked under charges that invite a death penalty or life imprisonment just for exposing those officials who rip off children in order to line their pockets. After initially taking action based on the video, the state government turned against Jaiswal himself, alleging that he made the video as a part of a bigger conspiracy to defame the government. Well, what did he get in return for showing the reality of the government schools? A heavily loaded FIR from the government. Case number 3. Siddique Kappan. After the Hathras incident grabbed the national headlines, a journalist from Kerala, Siddique Kappan, was en route towards the location to cover it, but he was arrested even before he reached Hathras. Mr. Siddique was booked and arrested under the draconian UAPA law. Under what evidence he was arrested for is still a mystery. We as a society may have forgotten about the Hathras incident, but Mr. Siddique is being still imprisoned in jail. Case number 4. Masrat Zahra. An award-winning photojournalist from Jammu Kashmir has been charged under the UAPA law for allegedly posting anti-national content on social media. Well, Jammu Kashmir police stated that she was posting content with the intention to incite youth and promote offences to disturb the public law and order. Well, when mainstream media spreads hatred between communities, creates a false sensation every evening, or rather small issues, in order to gain more TRPs, which we have explained in this video, then there is no disturbance in the law and order. But if a journalist posts on the social media, it is considered anti-national. Furthermore, along with Masrat Zahra, many other journalists like Pirzada Ashik and Gauhar Gilani have been either booked, questioned, or have been arrested. Case number 5. Vinod Dua, senior journalist and the consulting editor of HW News Network, was booked under alleged sedition. Remember the colonial law? And the police are investigating a case against him, which involves spreading public nuisance and making statements that could lead to public mischief. Last year in 2019, even before the elections, Facebook fan pages of Vinod Dua and Ravish Kumar were pulled down by the central government. Moreover, the offices of HW News Network were also raided by Income Tax Department officials without any official reason. Case number 6. Prashant Kanojia. A popular journalist, Prashant Kanojia, was arrested by the UP police from his home in Delhi in connection with an alleged controversial tweet. An FIR was registered against him for tweeting a morphed Facebook post of Hindu Army member Sushil Tiwari with the intent of defamation. This charge was denied by his wife. The FIR against Kanojia was filed under 9 sections of the Indian Penal Code and has also been booked under Section 66 of the Information Technology Act of 2000, which pertains to online offences. This isn't the first time he has had run-ins with the law. But if such forces are in power that are hell-bent on curbing dissenting voices, then I'm sure it won't be his last. Case number 7. 55 journalists booked. Well, dear viewers, were you aware that when you and I were sitting in our comfortable houses during the lockdown, a record 22 FIRs were filed against various journalists? For what reason, you may ask? For exposing the failure of the system in handling the pandemic and for showing the plight of the migrant workers. In a recently published report, it states that as many as 55 journalists were either arrested, had FIRs registered against them, had summons or show cause notices, were accused of alleged destruction of property, and for reporting fake news while covering on the COVID-19 situation during the lockdown from March 25th to May 31st. It has also been reported that the highest number of attacks on media personnel took place in Uttar Pradesh, followed by Jammu Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, and 4 each in Punjab, Delhi, Madhya Pradesh, and Kerala, along with 1 each from Assam, Andhra Pradesh, Bihar, Gujarat, Nagaland, Karnataka, Telangana, and even Andaman and Nicobar Islands. In spite of these journalists who risked their lives and acted as messengers to convey the news about the various mismanagement, corruption, hunger, and the plight of the migrant workers, lack of adequate PPE kits for the doctors in hospitals, what did they get in return for showing these news? Repressive measures from the government by having cases booked against them for doing real journalism. Let me give you a few more examples. At least 9 journalists were subjected to beating, including 2 in police custody. Another case was of a journalist whose house was demolished because of a COVID-19 related report he had filed, which involved a ruling party MLA in Telangana. An annual report called the World Press Freedom Index shows us to what level of freedom does the media of a country have. Since we are talking about how journalists and dissenting voices have been curbed by the state machinery, are you aware that India ranks 142 out of 180 countries in the Freedom of Press Index of 2020? Just 3 points ahead of Pakistan and below even Nepal and Sri Lanka. In 2010, India was ranked 122 out of 180 countries. And now, after a decade, we have slipped 20 points down to 142. Well, this is because journalists here too are shot dead for questioning the government. I don't have to remind our viewers about the case of Gauri Lankesh, who was shot dead right outside her house in 2017. Moreover, don't you think it is inexcusable for India to be ranked as 142 when we pride and consider ourselves as the world's largest democracy? The Freedom of Press Index of 2019 found out that there was an increasing sense of hostility towards journalists in India from the government. Moreover, we know that journalism which is not suited to the government would be clamped down on. But the pandemic has made matters worse than before for those journalists who actually did factual reporting and real journalism. Well, a section of the people who are saying hashtag justice for Arnab, hashtag misuse of power, hashtag fascism, hashtag attack on freedom of press. Where were these people when scores of other journalists were arrested for doing real investigative journalism and for getting into light the issues that actually matter? It is no doubt that the way in which Arnab was arrested needs to be condemned. But why this selective outrage by some people only for him and not for others? Weren't their arrest too a real attack on the freedom of press?
हिपोक्रेसी की भी सीमा होती है.
India needs a free, fair, and questioning journalism, even though it faces multiple challenges. The force with which the government has curbed dissenting voices has made the best of journalism in our country shrink. No wonder we are behind even Nepal in the Freedom for Press Index. This attitude of the government towards real journalists has given space to crude, loud screaming, prime time spectacle which we have seen widely over the last few months. But after all the media trials, sowing seeds of hatred among communities, and the endless vilification of the people who raise their voice against the system, the ultimate question arises. As Nakul Mehta rightly says, Circus shuru kisne kiya?
कल तक जो तमाशाई थे आज खुद तमाशा है. फर्क सिर्फ इतना है कि अब तुम्हारी तालियां बंद है. ये सर्कस तुम ही ने फाना था, ये तंबू भी तुम ही ने गाड़ा था. अब हमसे कहते हो तुम उखाड़ो. शेरों और रिंग मास्टरों का क्या, कल को फिर अलायंस हो जाएगा. गिद्ध और सांप दोनों एक हो जाएंगे. पिंजरों में बस रह जाएंगे मैं और तुम, एक दूसरे को कोसते. ये सर्कस शुरू किसने किया?